Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Career Choice Series webinar on legal ethics and risk management. The Career Choice Series is designed to help you choose your career path. Whether you're a law student, young lawyer, or transitioning attorney, find out what it's like to work in various practice areas and the best way to position yourself to get there. The Career Choice Series is brought to you today by ABA Legal Career Central, Law Student Division, Young Lawyers Division, and the Center for Professional Responsibility. Since 1978, the ABA Center for Professional Responsibility has provided national leadership in developing and promoting policies and standards that govern the conduct and regulation of lawyers and judges. The 5 ABA standing committees under the center's umbrella focus on issues related to lawyer and judicial ethics, professional regulation, professionalism, client protection, and lawyer specialty certification. The Young Lawyers Division is here to help new lawyers navigate the early years of their career and law students prepare for life after law school. The Law Student Division offers premium benefits, which includes a savings of $250 on Barbary Bar Review, $25 off West academic casebooks, and a legal ethics bundle that includes a free Model Rules of Professional Conduct ebook. Upgrade to premium for $25. Sign up today at abaforlawstudents.com/go premium. ABA Legal Career Central is a career center that offers both career development resources and a job board for law students, lawyers, and other legal professionals across all disciplines and career stages. Today's moderator is Simorn Salim, founder of Simorn Salim Coaching. She was formerly the Director of Employer Outreach and Associate Director for Private Sector Counseling and Programs at Berkeley Law, and an attorney at Manat, Phelps & Phillips. She is a board member of ABA Legal Career Central. Simorn, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks so much for the introduction, Emily. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to introduce our 2 esteemed panelists today, Dolores Dorson-Bill-Nicholas and Linda Sheely. Dolores is an assistant disciplinary counsel with the DC Office of Disciplinary Counsel, where she investigates and prosecutes District of Columbia lawyers for ethical misconduct. Dolores is also an adjunct professor at American University's Washington College of the Law, where she teaches legal ethics to second-year law students. She's also a member of the ABA Standing Committee on Professionalism and has served as a past chair of the Ethics Committee of the Maryland State Bar Association. Linda is the owner of her own firm, the Sheely Firm in Scottsdale, Arizona, where she provides ethics and risk management advice to over 1,400 firms in Arizona and the District of Columbia. Before opening her own firm, she was the Director of Lawyer Ethics of the State Bar of Arizona, and she started her career doing intellectual property and antitrust with Morgan Lewis Bacchus in Washington, D.C. Linda has served as the president of the Association of Professional Responsibility Lawyers and the Scottsdale Bar Association in the past. So we're really, really excited to hear about your careers, especially since it seems like you've had very different records in terms of how you ventured into doing legal ethics. So I'd love to hear from Dolores an overview of what it's like to be an ethics and professional responsibility lawyer.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much, Simorn. It is absolutely wonderful. I have been doing ethics and professional responsibility now for almost 15 years, and I can say that I can't imagine doing anything else. You know, I kind of just fell into this career choice of mine, and I just find the work endlessly interesting. It is really about solving problems and helping lawyers figure out ways to better provide legal services to their clients, and in doing so in a way that's ethical and in compliance with the rules of professional conduct. So, you know, I really enjoy what I do because I do provide a service to the bar that, you know, for many lawyers, it's immeasurable. I mean, I know I also prosecute lawyers, which is the other side, but in my role, I also get to teach them as well. So I think that that is probably the more important aspect of what it is that I do.
I love that you have so much passion and love for your career, even though you've been doing it for 15 years. It's really, really refreshing. Linda, can you share an overview of your practice, especially since you're doing more of the work in Scottsdale, Arizona? So I imagine the practice is a little bit different there.
Sure. Thanks, Simorn. My practice is a heck of a lot of fun. And there aren't a lot of lawyers who describe their practice that way. It's fun and it's rewarding. As Dolores just said, it's rewarding in that I spend my days trying to help lawyers who are trying to do the right thing. They're trying to resolve ethical quandaries that they're in, and I find it very rewarding to be able to help folks. And the gamut of questions that we get in any day is amazing. And practice in Scottsdale, Arizona is not much different than practice in Washington, D.C. or any town in the U.S. They're just lawyers, usually in private practice, that I'm assisting with ethics questions. I don't actually handle litigation. I don't do discipline defense work or legal malpractice defense. I just provide advice so that people don't end up in discipline or a legal malpractice claim.
Awesome. It's great to hear that you really enjoy your practice as well. Dolores, I think you mentioned this a little bit when you were talking about yourself in the overview, that you kind of fell into the career path. So what was your career path into ethics and professional responsibility, and what advice would you give to attorneys who are trying to break into that sector now?
Sure. So, I'm sure you've heard the expression, sometimes you don't get to pick your job picks you. I feel like that specifically describes my path. I mean, I don't have a glamorous path at all. I graduated law school and started off in private practice, working for a small firm doing high volume litigation work. And, after doing that for several years, unfortunately, I just got burned out, and not knowing what else to do or what else I thought I might be interested in, because I primarily did personal injury work and tort litigation. I saw an advertisement for, an assistant bar counsel with the state of Maryland. I applied and got the job. And honestly, like I said, that was almost 15 years ago. I've enjoyed it ever since. To me, it's like trying to figure out pieces of a huge puzzle, and you're trying to figure out a way to put it together. The best advice I would give to anyone who thinks they may be interested in ethics is probably to get involved with your jurisdiction's ethics committee. Most jurisdictions do have an ethics committee. Usually it's staffed with, several volunteer lawyers who either write opinions or man a hotline. And even young lawyers. You can certainly read the rules of professional conduct and talk through issues to try to help another lawyer figure it out. So I think that that's probably the best way to actually break into ethics, by getting some familiarity with the rules themselves and joining a committee where you get to talk about those issues.
Wonderful. It's amazing to see that you were able to just break into this career after being burnt out and find something that you love doing for the next 15 years. It's really inspiring. Linda, can you share more? Because you started out at a large law firm and you were doing antitrust and intellectual property, so this seems a little bit of a segue into doing professional responsibility.
I honestly had no cognizant clue that there was even a career path in professional responsibility. My path into this was even a little bit odder than Dolores just described. I moved to Scottsdale, Arizona with my family. I had a 2-year-old and then had twins, and literally went to a friend of mine at the state bar and said, please let me come to work and do something so I can have a little adult time. And our state bar in Arizona at that time did not have an ethics hotline, and 25 years ago I literally created it. And we started out providing free advice by telephone, and now there are actually 2 full-time staff counsel giving ethics advice at the state bar, which is not bad for a bar association of only 22,000 lawyers. I would also encourage, as Dolores just did, if someone listening is interested in professional responsibility issues, there are a number of ways in which you can get involved as a newer lawyer. Certainly joining a state bar or city bar ethics committee is a great way, and those organizations, those committees really need diversity on them. We need to have folks that are not just what I refer to as very seasoned lawyers, but we also need to have newer lawyers' perspectives when writing those opinions and giving advice to bar members. So reach out to your local bar association, and then if you're interested in professional responsibility, of course, one of the best places to go to hear national experts on this topic would be to the ABA Center for Professional Responsibility Spring Conference. It's held every spring. This coming 2018, it's going to be in Louisville, Kentucky. And that's a great place to also get to network with people from around the country, to get to know folks and see if you can volunteer on a national basis.
You literally just created this out of your own volunteer work. That's really amazing to hear that you did this for the state of Arizona and just made it into something this big now that they have, 2 full-time staff members. That's quite amazing, and just an entrepreneur through and through because you have your own firm now.
Yep, and starting out my own firm, actually, it took me being at the State Bar of Arizona for 10 years, giving out free advice when I realized, you could give advice for money. And I left 10 years ago, and so for the past 14 years, going on 15 years, I've just developed a private practice. The way you become an ethics lawyer to provide ethics advice to law firms is by doing, obviously, speaking engagements, working with the state bar and national bars and even for-profit organizations to provide continuing legal education courses. I guess because I have a limited attention span, I try to make them entertaining, and folks just remembered my name, and we're off to the races.
That leads me right into my next question for you, you both, and we'll start with you, Linda, since you kind of alluded to this a bit about the work that you're doing. What's the day in the life of a lawyer doing professional responsibility and ethics like? And in your case, because you're an entrepreneur, it sounds like part of that is having speaking engagements and being able to be out there publicly as well.
Right, and a lot of my day actually is spent doing non-billable work, not just as a marketing, but because I believe we all should be giving back to the profession, and my way of giving back is by providing assistance to various ABA and state bar committees. My day, it's a Friday, so my Fridays, I try not to plan anything, because that's the day when most lawyers finally confess that they have an ethics issue that's been sitting on their desk all week that they're going to panic about if they don't get it answered over the weekend. So I spend my day on the phone usually, or answering frantic emails where people have urgent ethics questions, everything from, my gosh, I think I have a conflict of interest, to, oh my gosh, I think I might have blown a statute of limitations, to how do I write this fee agreement for this blended rate client, to we have to fire an associate, what do we need to do in order to do that effectively and without compromising any client interests. So my day is triaging a lot of different ethics questions from all size firms and all different aspects of professional responsibility.
You're kind of like the ER doctor.
Yeah, that would be true.
And Dolores, what's the day in the life like for you? I know for you, you prosecute attorneys and you're on a different side, whereas Linda talks to them before they have to see somebody like yourself.
Mm-hmm. So no 2 days for me are the same. So of course, part of what I do is prosecute lawyers. So some of that involves litigation, when we're getting ready to go to a hearing and present our evidence to demonstrate that a lawyer has violated the DC rules of professional conduct. Part of my days involve investigation. I mean, we all the assistants here have full caseloads and full dockets. So the cases that are not currently in litigation, we have to make a determination whether do we have enough evidence, can we prove by clear and convincing, that's our burden of proof, that a lawyer violated the rules. Part of our day is spent researching. And so sometimes I have to actually research whatever the underlying matter is. So, for instance, if I'm prosecuting a criminal defense lawyer and, his client says that he filed an incorrect motion, and, I don't know a whole lot about criminal law, but I certainly have to get up to speed and figure out what it is that the lawyer should have done, if there's a claim that there was some incompetency. So part of my time involves research. Um, some of what I do is a motions practice, for the cases that are in litigation. I respond to motions. I'm constantly filing motions. Um, I write a lot. We're constantly drafting dispositions um, to present to not just our staff, but the Board of Professional Responsibility, who are our overseers. Some of my time is spent interviewing witnesses, combing through evidence, reviewing bank records, especially if it's an allegation that there was misappropriation or if there was an overdraft on an attorney trust account. And because my office it's a very collaborative environment, and we all like to discuss our cases and make sure that we all arrive to the same conclusion together as a staff. We do have a lot of meetings where we kind of talk about everybody's cases. We do moot courts for everyone. So if someone has an oral argument that's prepared to go to court, or they have an argument next week, as a staff, we all sit together and we moot them. And we literally sit there and we pretend that we're judges, and we have to kind of read the record for
Wow, so
that attorney's cases. I mean, it's very intensive. I mean,
yeah.
but, it's good because we make sure we're all prepared, which I like. And then the other part of what I do is the teaching aspect. So in addition to teaching at the area law schools, I do a lot of speaking engagements for the ABA, the local bars, national bar associations, because what we like to do is we like to let lawyers know that, we prosecute lawyers. We don't like to, but if there's a way to teach them how to practice better and how to practice ethically, I mean, clearly that is our preference.
Yeah, so it sounds like you have a pretty full plate in terms of, doing stuff in terms of your day-to-day prosecuting attorneys, and then also as you're teaching. And we'd love to hear more about it. But we do have to move on to the next question. And I'll just start with you, Dolores. What do you love? And it seems like both of you really love what you do, and it sounds like an amazing career. And heck, I'm even interested in learning a lot more about it now after hearing you guys talk about it so passionately. What do you love about it, and what do you find most challenging about it?
Well, I think what I love about what I do is that the work here is endlessly interesting. No two cases are the same. My days are never the same. Things never get mundane or boring. I never know what new case is going to land on my desk. I feel like I'm in a job where I'm constantly learning. So it's like I have to know a little bit about a lot of different practice areas, which is good. But sometimes, like for instance, I had a case assigned to me that was a patent case. I am not a patent lawyer, and in which case, I kind of had to get up to speed on patent law. Same thing with a maritime case I was assigned, an aviation case. I mean, we see all different kinds of cases. I mean, I know the ethics rules, so if you give me a set of facts, I can, kind of apply it. But, that's kind of what I love, and also kind of what I probably find more challenging, especially if it's an area of law that, I have no familiarity with, like the maritime case that I had to prosecute, because it really does require you to take time out of your day to learn about what maritime lawyers do and what they're supposed to do correctly.
Right. And Linda, same question for you. What do you love? And we've heard a lot about what you guys love, and what do you guys find, what do you find challenging about your work?
What I love is that I'm working with lawyers who, I've already said it once and I'm going to say it again, lawyers who are trying to do the right thing. I have the privilege of not having to work with clients who are trying to skate near the line. The folks that I'm dealing with are just good lawyers who have difficult issues under the ethics rules. And it's really a privilege to get to work with them, as well as the experts around the country. The Association of Professional Responsibility Lawyers and the ABA Center have phenomenal people in those organizations. and they really are very supportive of everybody else. And that's the collegiality and the camaraderie, the working with people who are just trying to do the right thing, I think are the parts that I enjoy the most about being a professional responsibility lawyer. And then I'll echo what Dolores said. For a challenge, gosh golly gee, I'm an inch deep and a mile wide, because you've got to answer questions in every practice area that there is, and that requires at least understanding a basic understanding of how that practice area works, whether it's family law or securities or IP or bankruptcy or criminal. And when I pick up the phone, I never know what practice area it's going to be. So one thing that helps is if folks have a broad background in different practice areas, and then I have to go to continuing legal education classes in the substantive areas, just so that I can see what issues substantively these lawyers are dealing with.
That segues well into our next question, Linda, which is, what are the top 3 skills that you think somebody who wants to work in ethics and professional responsibility has to have? And so one of the ones that you mentioned already is somebody who has more of a broad background. Any additional 1 or 2 skills that you would recommend that somebody have?
The first skill would be common sense, because and I'm not teasing when I say that. You have to have a practical perspective that once you know the rules, that's kind of a given. You know the ethics rules that are going to apply, but you have to be a very good listener so that you know what questions to ask that the person who's seeking advice hasn't actually conveyed to you, and then a practical common sense approach, because a lot of lawyers are obviously very stressed when they're contacting you for ethics advice, whether you're an in-house conflicts associate at a big firm, you're an ethics hotline, you're a bar counsel, or you're an outside private counsel. It's one of those areas where some common sense, being able to say, that's a really good question, I'm not sure, let me take a look and get back to you. And then being able to apply the rules to the specific area.
What about you, Dolores? Do you have, what are some of the top skills that you think a lawyer doing work ethics and professional responsibility should have?
Sure, I would definitely piggyback on what Linda said. You definitely have to be a problem solver. I mean, you're going to have to be able to look at a set of facts and really kind of just, kind of parse and piece through and to get to the heart of the matter, or whatever the issue is. And then you're going to have to be able to apply the rules of professional conduct. And sometimes, when lawyers typically call, they don't call with the black or white question. Can I steal funds from my client? I mean, I almost never get a question like that. Or, it's always gray. It is always gray. It's always, there's these 2 parties, and they came to talk to me, and then there was this waiver, and then there was this other part, and then it gets kind of like, really fuzzy. So it's really important for a lawyer to be able to kind of piece through these facts, and really be able to figure out what the issue is. And then the only other thing I would add is that it's important for a lawyer to have good oral communication skills. A lot of what I do is I talk, I speak, not just to the people in my office, but I speak to members of the public all the time. I talk to my complainants, I talk to witnesses, I talk to court personnel, I talk to judges. I mean, and this is just in the investigation phase. And then of course, if I have to litigate, I have to make oral arguments and do trial work and that sort of thing before hearing committees and the justices over at our Supreme Court. But it's really important that you're able to communicate what it is that the issues are. So that would be my advice.
Awesome. And you guys have talked a lot about what you loved about the profession, what it takes to do the work. What would people find surprising to know about working as an ethics and professional responsibility lawyer? And we'll start with you, Dolores.
I'd say for me, I think the most surprising thing that lawyers hear is that part of what my mission is and part of what my job is to protect members of the bar. there's a huge misconception that bar counsel or disciplinary counsel is out to prosecute all lawyers or out to prosecute solos or attorneys of color. And those are all misconceptions, and that's not even how we operate. We're 100% complaint driven, and in addition to protecting the public, we also protect the bar because when we get a complaint, we're able to discern whether there is no merit to the complaint. And sometimes we have to do a little bit of investigation to determine that some of the claims made by the complainant, they're unfounded, and in which case we don't want to hold the lawyer up because this is anxiety inducing what we do, I'm sure, to lawyers. So we would rather spend our time dismissing those cases so we can move on to the real bad actors.
I love that you're talking about it from the perspective of you were really here to help. Linda, same question for you. What would people find surprising about your work?
Well, I guess the first thing they find surprising is that this is actually a billable, payable practice area. That I don't dabble in any other practice areas. I'm just an ethics lawyer, and that actually is a practice area now that is expanding across the country. We're seeing it both for in-house counsel, having somebody who's designated just as the ethics counsel, the conflict counsel, or the risk management lawyer in a firm, or outside lawyers. And then I guess the other surprising part, I'm advising, as my bio says, over 1,400 firms around the country. I'm doing that right now as we speak, from a home office with a dog sleeping on my feet.
Nice.
So it is a flexible practice area. If you want to do litigation, that's great. You can get experience as a bar counsel, as Dolores mentioned and explained, or if you don't want to do litigation, you can be somebody who provides only advice, and you can do it from a home office or a virtual office, and it's a flexible practice area.
And you guys both seem to have such distinguished careers. How has being involved in the ABA supported your career? And then we'll be taking questions after this. I do see one or two questions in the queue.
I'll start. I'll say that working with the ABA, I mean, it's been such an invaluable experience for me personally. I've had the opportunity to work with some of my esteemed colleagues around the country who they are equally interested, invested in promoting professionalism and ethics, as well as a myriad of other practice areas. But I would definitely encourage new lawyers or young lawyers or people who are thinking about changing practice areas, start with the ABA. I mean, they're such a great resource. For me, I found that through the work that I've done, starting off as an ABA Young Lawyers Division Fellow, and then working through the Young Lawyers Division, and now as an appointed member on the Standing Committee of Professionalism, I've gotten a lot of name recognition. Like, I've gotten recognition. I've gotten recognized for the work that I do. And now I get calls all the time from people all over the country to have me speak about ethics, which I already love. And in addition to that, I've now become known as an expert in my field, if you will. So I think, I mean, that definitely has been because of the work that I've done through the ABA. So I would certainly recommend, for those of you who are interested in this field, start with the ABA and kind of work your way through and talk to people who are like-minded and get working on some of these projects that really do help to promote the profession.
Same question for you, Linda. It seems like it's really helped Dolores, and I love that it's really boosted her career to make her well known as an expert. How has being involved in the ABA supported your career?
Same things that Dolores has mentioned. You have to get involved. You can't become an expert in an area by sitting in your office. You have to get involved, and the ABA not only provides the committee work, both through the Center for Professional Responsibility and also through ethics committees in each of the sections of the ABA, but attend their conferences. That's literally, the ABA is the only place where I, as an ethics lawyer, can get my CLE, where I can go hear national speakers and learn from folks on topics that are of relevance nationally. And I encourage folks, at least come to the conferences, see what it's all about, and then start meeting folks there and volunteer, get involved.
Well, that was really nice to hear that the ABs really helped both of your careers. And we do have a couple of questions, so if you guys can stay on longer. The first question is, are these types of roles available in-house? And Linda, I think you talked about this a bit in one of your answers, so if you can just start off and then we'll turn it over to Dolores if she has anything else to add.
Absolutely. I just saw the other day, because I try to keep track of these because I teach law schools in Arizona and try to keep in focus for our students. Particularly for newer lawyers, you're not going to become the risk management partner at a law firm right out of law school. But there are entry-level positions at larger firms in most cities where you could come in as a conflict counsel, and that's not a particularly glamorous job, but it's a crucial job for the firm. And through that position, or being an assistant associate to risk management partner, you start to develop the experience where you can advance your career.
Dolores, do you have anything else to add?
I think Linda summed it up nicely, but you know, for those who are not familiar, and I know lawyers who don't do what we do are not familiar with the rules of professional conduct, because you don't have to be. I mean, in terms of like memorizing them, but certainly I would, you know, take a look at the rules, figure out where to find them. Most jurisdictions do have them online, and certainly get in touch with your jurisdiction's ethics committee. I mean, I think that's a great starting place in terms of just getting information in terms of what your jurisdiction is specifically doing.
Awesome. And the second question is, do you think it's possible to start out and have a practice doing legal ethics and professional responsibility right after you graduate from law school, or does it make sense to get a background in something else first before you transition to doing that? And I think, Linda, you mentioned this a little bit, so we'll start with Linda answering the question then.
I would encourage folks that before you can give some practical ethics advice, it's a good idea to practice in some other practice areas first. And I would never encourage any law student, if they can help it, to come out of law school and start your own firm. I know a lot of our students out here do out of necessity, and boy, that's a scary thing to me. So first, get some experience at a firm or at a government office, public lawyer, wherever, and then after a couple of years, you can certainly transition into a professional responsibility practice. But yeah, it's really hard to, I would say it's very difficult to start out, because the only way you have lawyers coming to you for advice is because they learn about you because they've gone to CLE programs or other presentations where you've spoken, and you won't have that opportunity until you have a little bit of experience.
I agree. I would definitely agree. It's important for a lawyer to have some sort of frame of reference when we talk about these rules. I mean, these rules don't work in a vacuum, so it's important that you kind of know the application. And I think that the best way to know that is to actually be a practicing lawyer first, and then, you know, once you have that under your belt, after a couple of years, you can certainly look into transitioning into being an ethics lawyer.
So it sounds like the general consensus is to get a background doing something else. And this makes a lot of sense, because earlier you were both talking about how having a broad knowledge of different areas of law is really helpful, like maritime law, IP law, because you never know what's going to come across your desk. And we have a couple more questions. Do you have any publications? We'll just do one more just for the interest of time, but do you have any publications that you recommend people read or keep up with to stay in the know for professional responsibility and ethics?
Absolutely. So, oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Dolores, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So the ABA Journal, I mean, I read that all the time. You know, they have great ethics articles. I follow several blogs. I mean, I know people like to do a lot of their reading online. So the Professional Lawyer has a blog. There's like a professional responsibility blog. And you can just type these words in and you can find them just doing a simple Google search. But they're really good because as soon as an ethics opinion comes out in any jurisdiction, these lawyers, they kind of like summarize it, synthesize it, and then kind of give their opinion. And you know, it's interesting to read just to see what's happening nationwide. And then, of course, the ABA issues their own legal ethics opinion. So I would definitely get online and read those as well.
Awesome. And Linda?
I would agree with all of those. And then something that, while it might be a little bit pricier, most law firms that are interested in professional responsibility issues will subscribe to the ABA B&A Lawyer's Manual on Professional Conduct. That really is the holy grail of a publication that includes opinions from across the country, decisions across the country, with twice a month current report comes out summarizing all of the information. And that's really a great resource.
Wow, this has been a really great discussion. I've learned so much just listening to you talk about legal ethics and professional responsibility, and you just make it sound like it's such a wonderful career to have. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to talk to us and share your knowledge with us. So I'm going to turn it over to Emily now.
Thank you, Simone, for moderating, and Dolores and Linda for your inspiring and insightful discussion on careers in ethics and professional responsibility. And thank you all for attending today's webinar. Attendees, please be sure to check out our website at ambar.org/careers for upcoming free career-related articles and webinars. There's recordings of all of our past programs on the website now, and on your screen is our upcoming Career Choice Series webinar on how to land a government job. And then we have a few Career Advice Series webinar, which is more on professional development and job searching techniques on preparing for partnership, keeping up with LinkedIn, and then some networking strategies. You can also connect with us and keep up with all of our programming on social media and get to know our board on our About page. Before leaving, please complete our short survey. Thank you again and have a great day.